The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
The week of January 29, 1995 in Los Angeles will see sunny skies and temperatures in the mid-80s. In the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers become the first team to win 5 championships. 46,000 people will die of AIDS this year alone. Film industry executives read that Legends of the Fall is #1 at the box office. And it has been 7 months and 17 days since the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. Their grieving families head to the courthouse for the trial of the man accused of murdering their loved ones, as testimony begins in the O.J. Simpson trial. Week 2 of The People versus O.J. Simpson is, in many ways, the beginning of the trial. The story the prosecution is telling jurors: Simpson was a wife beater, and Nicole's murder was the conclusion of years of terrible physical abuse. Ron Goldman was simply an innocent bystander, in the wrong place, at the wrong time. I'm Roger Cossack, and this is OJ25.
O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson had had a troubled marriage because there were charges against him for domestic violence, and there had been pictures of that abuse.
The prosecution begins its case by establishing a pattern of domestic abuse with witnesses from law enforcement.
Mr. Darden, Ms. Clark, are you ready to call your first witness?
Good morning, Ms. Gilbert.
Good morning.
So the call came to you, right?
Right, it was the open line.
Okay, and could you hear anything over the open line?
No, at the beginning, no.
Okay. Did the line remain open?
Yes, it did.
And while the line was open, at any point in time, could you hear anything?
Yes, I did.
And what did you hear?
At first, I heard a female screaming.
And did you hear anything else?
Yes, I did.
And what did you hear?
I heard someone being hit.
You heard a noise that you associated with someone being hit?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated and state and spell your first and last name for the record.
A woman came running out of the bushes to my left, crossed the driveway. She was a female Caucasian, blonde hair. She was wearing a bra only as an upper garment, and she had on a dark, I believe it was a dark, lightweight sweatpants or night pajama bottoms, and started yelling, "He's going to kill me, he's going to kill me." "Who's going to kill you?" She said, "OJ."
What did you say?
I said, "OJ who? Do you mean the football player, OJ, the football player?" She said, "Yes, OJ Simpson, the football player." And I saw Mr. Simpson walking towards me from the house wearing a bathrobe. He said, "I don't want that woman in my bed anymore. I got 2 other women. I don't want that woman in my bed anymore." I told him that Nicole had obvious physical injuries to her face. She said that he had hit her, and I could see trauma and open wounds to her. She had a cut approximately 1 inch, I believe, on her left upper lip. She had a swollen right forehead. I believe her left eye or right eye was starting to blacken. It was swollen. And she had some sort of an imprint or some sort of a swollen mark that you could see on her cheek. I believe that was also on the right cheek. And she had a hand imprint on her throat, on the left side of her throat. She said that OJ had slapped her, hit her with his fist, and kicked her. She wanted him arrested, and I was going to have to place him under arrest for spousal battery. She told me why the argument had occurred that night.
What did she tell you?
She said that there were 2 other women living in the house, and that O.J. Simpson had sex with one of them prior to going to bed that night with her.
Is that in your report?
No.
Why not?
Because right after I finished the report and turned it in, I started getting phone calls from the news media and newspapers, and I didn't feel that it was a relevant part of the report of the crime, and it would just be a sensationalism thing. She said, "You've been out here 8 times. You never do anything about him." And she says, "I want him arrested. I want my kids back. I want to go in the house."
What did the defendant say?
I said, "You've been out here 8 times before, and now you're going to arrest me for this?" And I remember he emphasized this. I knew that if I took O.J. Simpson, a person with that stature, to the station in his underwear, that there would be repercussions because the media would show up and it would get blown out of proportion.
OJ denies that he beat Nicole. He says that he just pushed her out of bed. They tell him, listen, we have to arrest you. There's probable cause here, but we're gonna let you go back in the house because he's in his underwear and his bathrobe. We'll let you go in and change clothes. Well, OJ goes in the house. Next thing you know, the police hear his Bentley taking off on the other side of Rockingham. There's another driveway. He's gone.
That's Sergeant as Detective. Detective Edwards? All right, I want to call you by the wrong name. Detective, are these the pictures at West Los Angeles Station, right?
That's correct.
And how many pictures did you take altogether?
3.
And you had the ability, if the pictures didn't show something you wanted to show, you could take another picture, could you not?
No,
You couldn't take any more pictures?
it was out of film.
Wait a minute, you mean to tell us that the Los Angeles Police Department only had 3 shots on a Polaroid roll on January 1st, 1989 at the West Los Angeles Station?
It was out of film in that camera.
Did you get, with the Polaroid camera, as I recall it, you put another roll in after that finishes. Is that correct?
Right, she wanted to go home.
Wait a minute. How long would it take you, sir, to put another roll, slide another container inside that camera?
She wanted to go home to her children, and it wasn't my option. I had to comply with her.
So you didn't have time to take any more pictures? Is that what you're telling us?
That's correct.
You did have other film at that station?
I would imagine somewhere locked up in that station there was film.
There was other film at West Los Angeles Station. Isn't that correct, sir?
She wanted to leave. She wanted to go back to her children.
Can you answer my question? Was there other film at West Los Angeles Station?
Somewhere in that station, I'm sure there was other film.
And you could have gotten that film. Isn't that correct?
I could have eventually gotten the film,
And you
yes.
could have put that film inside that Polaroid camera. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
You could have taken that camera back to Rockingham, right?
I could have.
And you could have taken the pictures that you claim you now want. Isn't that correct?
If I would have ignored her request, I could have done all those things. It's true.
You did not do that, did you?
No, I complied with her request to go to her children.
But you were a police officer out there, and the reason you take pictures is so you can preserve how the person looked for years later. Isn't that correct, sir?
Exactly.
Now pleading before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I stood square.
Did he deny causing those injuries?
No, he did not.
Did he admit causing those injuries?
Yes, he did. He told me that he was sorry for what he did to Nicole and that he didn't mean to harm her in any way and that he would seek counseling with her.
Simpson is charged with spousal abuse. He pleads no contest. He's sentenced to 2 years probation, 120 hours of community service, mandatory counseling, a $200 fine, and is ordered to make a $500 donation to a women's shelter.
Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
People call Ron Ship to the stand, Ron.
All right, Mr. Ship.
As I was just walking through the door of the courtroom, I actually really felt my legs shaking. And I literally actually felt like I was going to the gas chamber. It was really weird.
Did you consider Nicole Brown a friend,
Yes, I did.
as you did the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And do you and the defendant remain friends today?
Well, I still love the guy, but I don't know. I mean, this is a weird situation I'm sitting here in.
You say you still love him.
Sure.
Now that was a really weird moment. OJ looked at me and smiled. And then I swear, it was like something just went, like hit me right there. I went, whoa. But he actually smiled like the old days.
I was a police officer at the time, and I was assigned to West Los Angeles Division.
Did you ever visit Nicole Brown at Rockingham?
Yes, I did. She just kind of got into actually what had happened and started telling me what had happened between her and OJ.
What injuries did you see at that time?
I couldn't see it that well because I remember she had makeup on, but if I remember, there was some swelling about her head somewhere. But I remember it was covered up pretty good.
It was an argument over some gift that supposedly OJ had given somebody else, and she was upset about it. OJ, had slapped her and chased her around, and she, ended up outside with only with her bra on. And I think I told her, I said, Nicole, I said, when I was talking to OJ on the phone, he said he was trying to hold you off. He said you were the aggressor. And it was an isolated incident. And that's when she looked at me and she said, he said isolated? And she had all these pictures. And she goes, well, this is what's happened to me in the past. And I looked at those pictures and I went, whoa, And the first thing, of course, was going through my mind that, I'm like, man, OJ's a batterer, I'm like, at that point when I saw those photos, this can't be the guy that I admire, the guy that never seen mad. I felt so bad, and as we were talking, she started crying. I've never seen Nicole cry.
Were you ever assigned to teach any particular subject at the police academy?
Yes, I was.
And what was that subject?
Domestic violence.
Did you show her the profile of the battered woman?
Yes, I did.
The victim's profile?
Yes, I did.
Did you discuss it with her?
Yes, I did.
And I went over all the profiles and, of the victim, the batterer, and she looked at the what I was showing her. She goes, that's him, that's him, that's him, that's him. And I went, oh, man, And she goes, could you do me a favor and maybe, go over these profiles with OJ? And I said, sure.
OJ made a remark to me. He said that he didn't think that he was a batterer. And I explained to him, I said, hey, man, you hit her. She's got marks. You're a batterer.
Prosecutors want the jury to hear about a conversation Shipp has with OJ the night after the murders.
Did you notice anything unusual about the defendant's hand at that time?
Yes, I noticed that he had on his left hand, I think one of his fingers was bandaged, white bandage on it.
Did you pose any question to him at that time?
Yes, I asked him how he cut his finger.
And what did he say?
So he did it in Chicago.
He said he smashed a glass in Chicago and cut his finger. And then I said, oh, okay. And then after that, somebody else had asked him, OJ, what happened to your finger? And he said, well, I was chipping golf balls out in the front yard and cut my finger. Then another guy came by and asked, OJ, what happened to your finger? And he said, I was getting the cell phone out of the Bronco.
He asked me how long does it take DNA to come back. He kind of jokingly just said, to be honest, Shipp, that's what he called me, Shipp. He said, I've had some dreams of killing her.
Did he say how many dreams he'd had of killing her?
No, he did not.
Did he say it was more than one?
He just said dreams, plural.
I got in the car when I left and I drove home crying. And I called my wife. First thing I did, I called my wife and told her, I said, Nina, I think OJ killed her. And she goes, you're kidding me. I said, no, I think he did it. And it was a real sad moment, for me. I mean, because this guy was everything to me. I mean, everything.
Isn't it true, sir, that you mentioned to Mr. Simpson that the police had found a glove on his property?
The The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
Everyone remembers O.J. Simpson's dream team as Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, and F. Lee Bailey. But there are other lawyers on the case. Carl Douglas cross-examines Ron Shipp and tries to make him look like a liar and an alcoholic.
You're not, so don't worry about that.
Carl had a lot of important jobs. Johnny had originally given Carl and I both a number of witnesses to examine at the trial. And one of Carl's witnesses came first, which was Ron Shipp. And that was a particularly awful day for the defense.
And wouldn't you agree that this statement about this supposed dream is a pretty bad thing about Mr. Simpson?
Yes, it is.
So did you lie when you didn't tell me about that dream?
I sure did.
You did? Okay. You've lied a few times, haven't you, sir?
Never in court.
Okay. Isn't it true, sir, that you were hopeful that you would be able to garner some publicity by making up false allegations about Mr. Simpson?
No, it's not true at all.
Didn't you think, sir, that by concocting this story about Mr. Simpson, it might enhance your own personal profile?
Mr. Douglas, I put all my faith in God and my conscience. Since Nicole's been dead, I've felt nothing but guilt, my own personal guilt, that I didn't do as much as I probably should have.
But let me ask you this. Didn't you think that by being a witness in this case, it would enhance your own personal profile?
No, sir.
Aren't you an actor?
Sir, I have done some acting. Yes, I have.
Let's talk about that. Isn't it true, sir, that by being the witness who has a conversation with Mr. Simpson, that it is going to possibly enhance your profile around the world?
Objection.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Mr. Douglas, there's no way, shape, or form that I would sit here and go through all this, put my family through this for an acting career. I could care less if I do any acting.
You do realize, Mr. Shipp, that by testifying as you have, you are going to enhance the name of Ron Shipp around the world.
Just like you're enhancing Carl Douglas by being Mr. Attorney here.
You realize that too, right?
Yes, I do.
So now you're a star as well.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody's, that's what they say. People are going to see you. But that's not why I'm doing this, Mr. Douglas. I'm doing this for my conscience and my peace of mind. I would not have the blood of Nicole on Ron Shipp. I can sleep at night, unlike a lot of others.
Chris Darden had been recruiting me pretty much and saying, hey, you need to help us out. You need to testify with the stuff that you know. And I told him I didn't want anything to do with it. And Chris Darden did something that I thought was genius on his part, because he called me down to the district attorney's office. So I sat down and someone said, hey, Chris, you got a phone call. And he's went, oh, okay, and he gets up and he walks away. And I look and I sit there and I see this what I knew was a homicide book, and Ron and Nicole. And I just opened it up. And I looked at the pictures, Ron, and I looked at the pictures of Nicole, and when I saw the pictures of her, I mean, that just ripped me to shreds. I just went, man, this is like really, really crazy. And when Chris came back, and I just looked at him and said, I'll testify. And he goes, huh? I said, I'll testify, man. I'll testify.
Isn't it true, sir, that Simpson never said anything to you about there being blood found in the car?
No, it's not true.
Isn't it true, sir, that Mr. Simpson said nothing to you about blood being found in the house?
No, it's not true.
Isn't it true, sir, that you mentioned to Mr. Simpson that the police had found a glove on his property?
I had no idea what they found in that house. Nothing.
Didn't you take Mr. Simpson out to behind the the garage to show him the area where the glove was supposedly found?
This is sad, OJ, but no, this is really sad.
Your Honor, I move to strike that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are to disregard Mr. Shipp's direct comment to the defendant. Mr. Shipp, please, you're instructed not to do that.
Ron Shipp just looked over at OJ at one point and just started talking directly to him as if no one else was in the room. It was just this, like, very real moment, and that was on Carl's watch. And it wasn't Carl's fault, but it caused OJ to insist that the second-tier lawyers not get to examine any other witnesses.
You drink a lot, don't you?
I used to.
You've had a drinking problem, haven't you?
Yeah, in the past I have.
Your alcohol problem started when?
When I was a police officer.
About what year did the problem start?
I'd say it probably kind of got out of hand, I think around maybe 83.
And you believe that your alcohol problem ended when?
Probably when I left the police department.
Which would have been 89.
89.
You were suspended for 30 days while you worked at the academy, were you not?
No, I was not.
Wasn't there occasion, sir, when you came to the academy with alcohol on your breath?
Yes, there was.
Didn't you receive a discipline as a result of that conduct?
Yes, I did.
What was that discipline?
I received 15-day suspension.
When you say, Mr. Shipp, that you didn't have a drug problem, an alcohol problem after 1989, are you saying by that you have not been drunk since 1989?
No, I'm saying, to me, a drinking problem, and let me explain this. You know, when I did have a drinking problem, I was the one that told myself. According to all my friends and family, everybody was shocked. It was me, it was my standards.
I respect that, but my question is, you still have gotten drunk since '89, haven't you?
I'd say yes.
Were you and he close friends?
I'd say we were pretty good friends. We never went out to dinner like on a regular basis and stuff like that. But...
Did you ever go out to dinner with him and you ever?
Well, when he was trying to have me help him get back with Nicole, yeah, he was real.
You and he went out to dinner?
He took me out a couple of times.
O.J. Simpson is a football fan, isn't he?
Yeah, he loves football. Yes, he does.
He goes to games a lot,
yes,
doesn't he? You and O.J. Simpson have never attended a football game together in the 26 years that he's been your supposed friend, have you?
Not one.
You're not really this man's friend, are you, sir?
Well, okay, all right. If you want me to really explain it, I guess you can say I was like everybody else, one of his servants. I did police stuff for him all the time. I ran license plates. That's what I was. Okay, I mean, like I said, I love the guy.
You weren't the kind of friend that he would share some private secret with, were you, sir?
Nothing except for the 1989 beating where he needed me.
I hated Carl Douglas for a long time. I really did. I mean, you know, the word hate in my mind was Carl Douglas. You know, I really did.
Mr. Shipp continually was staring at us. I found it myself to be very, very uncomfortable.
As week 2 of the O.J. Simpson trial continues, the defense calls out prosecution witness Ron Shipp for behaving inappropriately in front of the jury, specifically accusing him and some of the family members of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown of exchanging congratulatory gestures after he finished his testimony.
I saw Mrs. Goldman gesturing to Ron Shipp and telling him what a wonderful job she did and going like he did and going like this while the jury was sitting right there.
Did she make a thumbs up gesture?
Yeah, and she was also talking very loud and she said, Ron, you did a great job, like that.
When Mr. Ron Shipp left the witness stand, finally, he walked through the gates there and he made what has been called a power sign toward the Brown family. This was seen by people in the back row. And the jury was apparently still here. The court needs, again, perhaps to inquire or check with your staff or check with the photographers in the back row.
Well, you were directing your attention to counsel at sidebar. I was conferring with Mr. Simpson, and Mr. Shipp continually was staring at us, was mouthing some type of word in some type of attempt to either communicate with me or with Mr. Simpson, was making very unusual facial expressions that would go from a grimace to a smirk, and it was in front of the jury, and I found it myself to be very, very uncomfortable, and I tried to direct my attention away from him.
What I saw was a witness who didn't know where to look. He didn't want to sit there and stare at the jury. He could not stare at the audience, so he was looking around, as is typical of a witness when the attorneys are at sidebar. I didn't see him make any unusual expressions other than those typical and consistent with a witness who is just trying to determine what to do while the attorneys are at sidebar.
All right, well, if we have any luck, maybe Court TV has had the focus on Mr. Shipp during that course.
I asked Mr. Shipp during the break if he mouthed something to the defendant while we were at sidebar, and he told me that, yes, in fact, he did, and I intend to ask him on redirect what it was, since it was done in the presence of the jury. I'd like to ask the jury, excuse me, the jury saw it. I'd like to know what it is he said to him. I'd like him to know what it is he said to him.
I don't think that's proper, Your Honor. That's not evidence, and I think the court should simply admonish.
I'm going to admonish, and communications between a witness and a defendant during the course of the trial I don't think are relevant to anything unless there's something highly unusual. I'm not going to get into that in front of the jury. All right, let's have the jurors, please.
We learn what he said.
Okay, hold on. What did he say, Mr. Darden? What's your offer of proof?
He said, tell the truth.
I'd object, Your Honor.
Ron Shipp's testimony is a dramatic example of different perspectives covering the Simpson trial. The national media reports it one way. The African-American media, led by the LA Sentinel, reports it another.
The Sentinel saw itself as an advocate for the black community, and it presented viewpoints that one wouldn't typically see in the pages of the LA Times.
Consider this. This is the LA Times coverage of Shipp's testimony.
The foundation of journalistic practice is this idea of reporting facts. And facts are things that can be verified with evidence of various sorts, and that, two different observers should come away with the same understanding if indeed it's a fact.
Now compare that with the LA Sentinel's treatment of the same testimony.
Obviously, that's a very different perspective than, say, the one that the LA Times took. They saw the police officer Shipp as possibly a race traitor who, again, as a part of the police force, who has been known to do things to convict blacks who maybe weren't deserving of conviction. And the fact that, he had a drinking issue and it was more fuel to the fire. So again, different frames brought to the same testimony lead to radically different interpretations of what it means.
Your Honor, I have here what appears to be an LAPD 911 incident report. May it be marked People's 22.
My name is Catherine Bowe, C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E.
During 1992 and 1993, did you live next door to Nicole Brown?
Yes, I did.
Directing your attention to the last week of April 1992, at about 11:30 p.m., did you see the defendant at that time?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And where were you when you saw the defendant?
I was in my upstairs bedroom.
Okay. And where was the defendant when you saw him?
He was on the sidewalk Below.
What did you see the defendant do?
I saw him walking around on the sidewalk, walking from Shetland up Gretna Green. Slowly.
How long did the man remain on the sidewalk? The man you identified as the defendant.
All the time that my husband was downstairs,
Okay. How much time was that?
2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. Did your husband call 911?
Yes, he did.
What happened next?
I went to tell him that it was OJ.
My name is Carl Colby.
What caused you to call 911?
Well, it was an evening, approximately 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and it's a residential neighborhood, very quiet. And sometimes before retiring, I just go check the locks and look around downstairs, make sure the lights are off, things like that. And I happened to look outside, and I saw a man outside on the sidewalk.
Okay. And what was that man doing?
He was standing on the sidewalk looking at what apparently was the residence next door.
And what did you see the man do after you called 911?
He went back to the original position and looked at the residence and then left. After I'd made the call, I recognized him.
And who was that man?
It was Mr. Simpson. Well, I was embarrassed that I'd called 911 because I didn't feel that Mr. Simpson was a threat to me or to anyone else in our neighborhood.
911 emergency. Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please. Well, okay, what does he look like? He's OJ Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here?
It came down to a stalker, and the stalker was Simpson. So he would give himself 2 or 3 hours to see what she's going to do and who she has come over to her place, and he would spy on her.
Okay, what is he doing there? He just drove up again. He just drove over? Okay, wait a minute, what kind of car is he in? He's in a white Bronco, but first of all, he broke the back door down to get in. Okay, wait a minute, what's your name? Nicole Simpson. Okay, is he the sportscaster or whatever? Yeah. Okay, and Thank you. Wait a minute, we're sending the police. What is he doing? Is he threatening you? He's going nuts.
Terry, Terri, Moore, Moore.
What priority code was it given at 9:44 p.m.?
It was given a code 2 priority, which is urgent but not life-threatening.
When the 911 calls were played, I thought it was a really sad day. I think that was, in many ways, the turning point for public opinion against O.J. Simpson. And to hear his wife, his ex-wife, so terrified, so afraid, in one of the calls where she's screaming and she's saying, he's gonna kill me. And then contrast that actually with the other call, the second call, where she almost sounded resigned.
Has he threatened you in any way, or is he just harassing you? You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to come in again. Okay, just stay on the line. I don't want to stay on the line. Just stay on the line so we can know what's going on until the police get there, okay? Okay, Nicole? Uh-huh. Just a moment. Does he have any weapons? I don't know. Okay. He went home, and now he's back. My kids are upstairs sleeping, and I don't want anything to happen.
Was that priority code upgraded at some point?
Yes,
And who upgraded the priority of that call?
I did.
Okay. What did you upgrade it to?
I upgraded it to code 2 high, which is now potentially life-threatening.
Is he inside right now? Yeah. Okay, just a moment. Is he talking to you? Yeah. Are you locked in a room or something? No, he can come right in. I'm not going where the kids are because the kids are... You think he's going to hit you? I don't know. Okay. Stay on the line. Don't hang it up, okay?
What kept her staying? What kept her to, stick this relationship out? I don't know. But I do know that they had a love affair. And What that love affair was, I'll never understand.
Should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated and state and spell your first and last name.
On October 25, 1993, around 10 p.m., did you respond to a 911 call for help?
Not for help, but I did respond to a 911 call.
And did you respond to 325 South Gretna Green?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The home of Nicole Brown?
Yes.
Why did you go to that location?
The 911 call stated it was a domestic dispute. It was marked code 2 high, which is in an urgent call. She was visibly shaken. She was upset. She was concerned, and she was scared. The door had been split near the top and bottom of the door.
Describe for us, if you will, the defendant's demeanor when you saw him in the rear yard.
The defendant was agitated. He was upset, pacing back and forth, and he was speaking loudly.
These pictures of her and these recordings of her and her telling people that she was afraid for her life, almost like she was speaking from the grave. And it really impacted me emotionally. But when they interviewed the jurors who were dismissed after that, they said that they didn't think it had any relevance to the case. And so the impact on the jury was not the same as the impact maybe on some of the reporters or some people in the public. And I found that to be really, really impactful and really, really sad and haunting.
On Friday afternoon, February 3rd, Nicole's older sister, Denise, testifies. Her physical resemblance to her late sister is striking, and her raw anger and hostility to her former brother-in-law is palpable.
Denise Brown, Denise Brown.
Miss Brown, you are Nicole Brown's oldest sister?
Yes, I am.
Do you have other sisters?
Yes, I do.
How many?
There's Dominique and Tanya, and of course, Nicole.
You know the defendant seated here at the end of the council table?
Yes, I do.
Is your former brother-in-law?
Yes, he is.
When did you first meet the defendant?
Back in 1977.
And where was he when you met him?
He was playing football for Buffalo.
Was your sister Nicole and the defendant dating back then in 1977?
Yes, they were.
Was the defendant married at that time?
Yes, he was.
Miss Brown, your sister Nicole married the defendant in February 1985?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Did you attend the wedding?
Yes, I did. I was the maid of honor.
Did you, your sister Wendy, your sister Nicole, and Juliana, the four of you, and the defendant went out and went to the Red Onion in Santa Ana?
Yes, we did.
Did anything unusual happen that night in the Red Onion?
Yes.
What was that?
Well, we were all drinking and goofing around and being loud and dancing and having a great time. And then at one point, OJ grabbed Nicole's crotch and said, "This is where babies come from, and this belongs to me." And Nicole just sort of wrote it off like it was nothing, like she was used to that kind of treatment. And it was like, I thought it was really humiliating, if you ask me.
And when he said this, and when he grabbed her in the crotch, were there people around?
Oh, yeah, the bar was packed.
Strangers?
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking to the strangers.
Did the defendant appear mad or angry or upset when he grabbed your sister's crotch and made these statements in front of these strangers?
No, he wasn't angry. It was his. That's the way just the way he acted, the way it was like, this belongs to me, this is mine. He wasn't angry when he said it, he just made it a point. He wanted it to be known.
And during the time that these strangers were approaching him and shaking hands and things like that, did he appear to shy away from the attention at all?
Oh, no. No, not at all. He loves the attention. He loves it. He's got a big ego. It feeds his ego.
Disregard the last answer regarding the defendant's ego. That question and answer is not relevant to the issue before the court at this time. And Ms. Brown, if I can ask you, would you please listen carefully to the question that the attorneys asked of you, and if you would answer just the precise question that they asked you, this will go a lot easier.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Do you recall an occasion when you and Ed McCabe and Nicole and the defendant went out to dinner?
Yes, I do.
And where did the four of you go after you left the La Cantina restaurant?
We went to OJ's house. OJ and Nicole's house.
On Rockingham?
Yes.
Now, had you had something to drink at the restaurant before?
Yeah, margaritas.
Okay, and what did you do when you returned to the defendant's home on Rockingham?
We were sitting at the bar, talking, having some more drinks, and talking.
Okay, and while you were talking, did you say something to the defendant?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to him?
I told him he took Nicole for granted, and he blew up. He got...
Right. Ms. Brown, if you would, don't volunteer anything beyond the actual question, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Darden.
You told the defendant that he took Nicole for granted?
Yes.
Why did you tell him that?
Because she did everything.
Sustained.
What reaction, if any, was there by the defendant when you told him that he took your sister, Nicole, for granted?
He got extremely upset. He started yelling at me. I'll take her for granted. I do everything for her. I give her everything. And he continued. And then a whole fight broke out, and pictures started flying off the walls. Clothes started flying. Ran upstairs, got clothes, started flying down the stairs. And grabbed Nicole, told her to get out of his house. Wanted us all out of his house. Picked her up, threw her against a wall. Picked her up, threw her out of the house. She ended up on her... She ended up falling. She ended up on her elbows and on her butt. Then he threw Ed McCabe out. We were all sitting there screaming and crying. And then he grabbed me and threw me out of the house.
The raw emotion of Denise Brown's testimony closed week 2 of the O.J. Simpson trial. A week the prosecution painted a picture of domestic violence that led to murder. In week 3, Denise Brown continues her testimony, describing the hours before her sister is murdered, including the demeanor of the man accused of killing her. That's next on OJ25. I'm Roger Cossack.